Okay. Hi, hello everyone. So in today's video, I'll be telling you more about my meeting with, well, actually someone who was supposed to be my sponsor that turned out to be my friend. So I'll be telling you more about having a cup of coffee in a public place when actually still being during the time when I actually avoided people, and during the time when I was walking with the hoodie on and my sunglasses on. So I will be telling you about my meeting with Professor Mazur, who also helped me write my bachelor thesis by saying yes or no. But paradoxically, it may sound, but that helped me a lot because during that time I was pretty much able to write this bachelor thesis on my own, and I needed the guidance that would help me find my way in it. So he pretty much says that. Okay. So, if you're curious about the further events of from my book Piglet, stay tuned. So we went to have a cup of coffee in Sofa Pink in Tarnów, and I was sitting with my hoodie on and with my sunglasses on, and I was having my cup of coffee with my prof. And we used to meet once a week to discuss my book, and it helped me a lot to actually have those meetings, because other than that, I don't know, I wouldn't have too much of a contact with people during that time, really. So it's a lot of people, I would say, worked on my motivation to bring it down in a lot of ways, via experience, via sentences they would utter toward me, by creating illusions and doubts. Then with those meetings, I actually was more uplifted and happy to have a conversation, just as doing as much as being happy about having a conversation. And the fact that it was my professor, the professor was really, really accomplished. So well, he is. He's very accomplished and he's very successful. So we were sitting in the sofa pink, and he wanted me to look behind me, look around, and to really see who sat behind me. And I didn't look. But it was a funny way he went about it. He would say, can you just directly, can you look at the child behind you? And I was like, but when I looked, I actually saw only a child, and I didn't see half of the picture, like as if you look at something and you see only one element of it and half of it is totally gone, there's nothing in it. And I looked back at him, and he asked me if he could take a photo of me, and yet again I could see then people behind me, and people take photos in restaurants, in cafes, but I was like, no. And a memory of my photography teacher came to mind, Jan Gomoa, who was during the meeting with me, he took out his camera and he started to as if recording me. He also asked me about sunglasses, my sunglasses, and he tried them on, and therefore, forgive me, it's probably the allergy that was gone for many, many years, and now it's back. So he asked me for my sunglasses, and therefore when he put his sunglasses on, then he naturally attracted the attention to what was he looking at, right? And I started to think about, the memories of Evil Eye and the girl from McDonald's who just kept staring at me with one eye. And then my eyes started to be aching, and I had tears coming out of them, and they were a bit itchy too. Mm. And the memory of that memory was replaced with dirty contact lenses from the psychiatric hospital when I had this white gathered in my eyes and I didn't know about it. And it was because I didn't take off my contact lenses. So, the memory from McDonald's was replaced with the memory of also connected with the eyes, but from a psychiatric hospital. And I think the memory with the evil eye would ultimately right away bring in mind, McDonald's and McDonald's team and stuff. Um, you know, um, I had two memories, like with being with my sister in place called Filiżanka. So it's a place called Cap in Tarnów. And, somebody sent me a memory of picking up my nose. And then I was like, okay, we should go. And, when you go, you turn around. And I had a memory of, going to Tai Chi class. And then my... when the Tai Chi class was over, I was thinking about, approaching my instructor, and something was telling me, like, turn around and look at the instructor that, shows you the way to even reach. Excuse me. Forgive me. Okay. So, so the memory came to mind that I should turn around and look at the second Tai Chi instructor that was also there and that I believed was Jewish, and I didn't turn around, so I think those two memories probably came to mind so that I could actually go and check who was sitting behind me. Excuse me. So then the professor told me, okay, so let's go to the bar and let's order something, let's order the second coffee, because with coffee, I didn't ask him explicitly for the second cup of coffee, but, I had it in my mind, buy me a coffee. And that was a very rude way. And remember, during that time, I already know that people can access my Akashic records. So obviously, that form wasn't polite. And when he wanted to buy me a salad or a cake, and he wanted me to go with him to the bar, then I was thinking about, all those memories that I ate something and it dropped, or, all those dates I had, and, the cheese from pizza couldn't separate from pizza, and you look at your partner, coming. He could eat pizza very elegantly, and the same with other people too. When you hang out with girls and they eat nicely and you somehow cannot. So because of that, I didn't want to go to the bar with him. As simple as that. So many times he would imply it, he would say it explicitly, and just it didn't work with me. Which tells me I was most probably hypnotized, and there are other reasons to climb that too. But, he finally told me to look at the menu, and on the menu there was a croissant, and that memory bring another memory of, a girl from McDonald's who used to leave me a croissant. So when I was hungry, there was a croissant for me, and at 12 o'clock at night, we could help ourselves with what was left from Mac Cafe, which wasn't so explicitly explained, because some people said we could, some people said we couldn't. But some people took those croissants. So at night when I was hungry, I helped myself with the croissants too. And it looked as if, and she acted it out as if she was my friend, because she was showing me and modeling things for me. Like, she was showing to me that, red hair is um, the way that could protect you from the witches, for example, right? So from being bright, having bright blonde hair, she dyed her hair into very strong red hair. And she also made herself a new tattoo, the tattoo depicting the moon. And of course, witches work with the energy of the moon. Um, and when there was a time when I came with, with a lot of jars of coffee, because there was, whenever I drank coffee, I just felt very, very, I felt weak, I felt dizzy, I felt bad. So I grabbed those jars of coffee and I went to the job, and I wanted to keep them there. But luckily, my boss didn't allow me to speak any further when I started to talk about fortune tellers and the gypsy witches and the gypsy magic. And then Veronica, opened the door, and she told me to get back to work because I was a little bit late. So you could think that she kind of rescued me, but and then she also talked about keto diet, and she was on a keto diet supposedly, which just was basically based on eating salads in front of me, but they were not like ready-made salads at home, but just salads from our workplace. And she also told me, I barely wrote that I read Edgar Allan Poe for the very first time when I was 13 years old. And that was the book entitled The Black Cat, which meant that I just read like 1 or 2 pages because the vocabulary there was really advanced. And um, she told me she read Edgar Allan Poe when she was 13, just like I did. Um, and with time, I started to think about her. I started to think that she was of, the same height, and she had the same, not the same eyes, but very big, nice looking eyes, very attractive eyes. And she had the same body type that my aunts on that side of the family. And as those memories about her were coming back when I was having my cup of coffee with my prof, um, the question showed up in my mind if I trusted her. And honestly, not really. Well, no, because those people, they see in advance what you're going to do in a year time, and they just act out those scenes so that you would think, okay, she's on the same page with her values and her approach to life that I am, and that's pretty much it. Um, and um, during that time when I worked at McDonald's, I was writing this book, the first colony on the planet Mars. And I think that people helped me write it too, because for example, Veronica said, "Be careful to not just, be careful to not to stack me on that broom." And that was the sentence I used in my novel and in my satiric writing about witches too. And she said, "I wish a cacti would spring out of my head." And this is what my father used to say quite so often in the past. "I wish a cacti would spring up out of my head." So I use that in the first colony on the planet Mars too. And I was attacked by one of the friends with, when she was changing, I was changing her, and she was supposed to go on a break, and she told me that, there were 2 cars on hold, and I never went on hold with the food yet, so I wasn't sure what was where and so on. And she started to yell to someone that, about me. She didn't know what what to do, what is all this? And therefore I started to write, because she was the same zodiac that that I am, Aries. So I started to write about an angry Aries, in a scene with a stick. And it was a quite short stick when my animals started a war, but it was composed of like 4 sentences, just a few sentences, with passing the stick and stick changing into the broom and broom changing into a different name. So it was very quite a dynamic scene. But and they wanted to catch the monkey and grab it on its tail, and maybe remove its tail too. Um, and then there was one more hypnotic input, or just a person, showing showing me the guide on how to be polite. And then my animals in my book for children started to write the guide on how to be polite. So basically, it's not really a big deal, because people can use those sentences or those books just to see what's going to happen in your future, or they can do it just to present to you an idea and make a hypnotic impact, so that you would do something, that you would use a given concept. Sometimes they just take out a given concept out of you and present it, so that they were the authors of the idea, so that they came up with the idea and it was not your idea. But still, they can take it from you and present your intellectual property as theirs, just because they can read your Akashic records. And as the entire thing was presented to me, that whatever I wrote about happened, then, well, there is more to that aspect of writing the book, but I'll get back to that aspect for sure. Um, and when I was reading a schedule and I couldn't see from a distance, I asked Veronica for help, and she didn't help me. She told me her mom died, and when I thought about her, doing me on guilt, then I thought. Then she said, "Oh, it was long ago," and she would have a makeup with a star over here on her cheek. So these could be references leading to Jewish people, as their symbol is a star. And during that meeting with my professor, that a lot of internal processes were actually navigated from the outside, so to say. Because when I was sitting with him, somebody sent me the memory of the dog, and it was very, very long ago, when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I was very little. And I dropped my dog from the stairs, but this was quite high, because it was leading to the upper floor, and this upper floor is made of wood, so it's like the upper floor in one room. So I was there up, and I dropped my dog. His name was Max, and I didn't remember that. But then, when I was a teenager, I used to smoke cigarettes in a lot of places, or just when walking the dog. And we had this very small Pekingese named called Thanatos. And I remember one time I was walking and, having the cigarette in one hand and having my doggy in the second hand. And I remember that my doggy slept, but the distance was like, of this high. And I don't remember how much later, but sometime later, he developed some problems um, um, with his legs, and with time he couldn't walk so fast, and then with time his movement would be even more inhibited. And I also remember that, when we still lived in the former flat, then the dog just fell off this ladder, and that was a very high distance. But this time it fell on his own. So when it fell on his own from a very much higher distance, nothing actually happened to him. He could still walk for many, many years. And then when we had this accident that, I was walking with him and I had a cigarette in one hand and I dropped him, then sometime later he developed problems. So, yeah, there was a lot of guilt with that respect. And sure thing, I was sitting with my prof and kind of, I haven't written about it yet in my book. I didn't also remember much about it. And those memories guided me in the direction that, people who sat behind me knew a lot about me, because somebody really like pushed that memory onto me. And there were other memories that were black, like I couldn't recall somebody else's face, or or yeah, most of the time, yeah, it was about memory during that meeting, that I couldn't recall something. And uh, what I want to tell you here is like, one of the motivations, because that memory obviously made me feel bad, made me feel guilty, and it made me feel like, I wasn't entirely a human and so on. And I felt ashamed for sure. But sometime later, when I was about to go to London, or when I got back from London, there was a moment that really the memory of wanting to have a dog helped me. It helped me, pushing further, and it helped me to finish off the book, because I wanted to have a dog, and I wanted to be certain that I don't have to be afraid about my dog. I don't have to be afraid that, I will drop a dog yet once again. And the reason why I tell you so is because one thing is, it could be an accident. It could have been an accident that, my dog slipped from the hand, because he was a cigarette, he was the dog, that it slipped. But it could be also the hypnotic induction. It could be hypnosis. And the reason why I tell you so is because at McDonald's, I already saw it with my own eyes that I dropped something. And I didn't have an intention to drop it. As if I did something, that just didn't make much sense to me. And I did it, right? So, I didn't want to buy a dog and be, have some mental blackmails, like, going over my thoughts that if I write the book, then something will happen to my dog because I love my dog. Well, if I am supposed to buy a dog, then the dog, then I have to know how to navigate my extrasensory perception, and how to navigate and protect my Akashic records too. So, the reason why I tell you this example is because, what in one moment may intimidate you, in one moment may, work as very shameful experience for you. In the second moment, sometime later, a month later, will work as your motivation, or will work as something that will actually will keep you going. um yeah, so in today's story, I told you a bit how I identify two women that sat behind me, because somebody would send me the image of dog's penis on the left screen, and that was really like McDonald's. That happened at McDonald's, and that was something that was done to me daily at McDonald's. So I was sure these two women were women that worked with me at McDonald's, and I think they were Joanna and Veronica. So And my prof was my sponsor, so we have a little bit of following up with the story of searching for a sponsor, who was, just, telling me, yeah, next time, next time, next time. But but he really helped me with, with motivation and with attention and with just basic human needs, that is the need to talk to someone actually. So yeah, so thanks a lot for being there. And if you want to get a free PDF of my book, then drop me a line at lkinga788@gmail.com. And if you want to check out my course, Amelia, then click the link in the description of the film. You will find all the info in the description of the film, on my website, on my Instagram and Facebook accounts, as well as yeah, these are the all places. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this video, share it with other people. And thanks for watching.